and welcome back to the Arete Outdoor Centre. Today on this episode we're going to look at how you can safely build a fire in your own back garden. So before we get into it, a few safety things to remember. If you've got long hair, make sure it's tucked safely behind you so it can't catch on anything. If you're wearing long sleeves or baggy clothes, make sure they're rolled up and out the way of the flames. Make sure you've always got the help and supervision of an adult, and make sure you've got some water to hand for if you need to, in an emergency, get rid of the fire. So, now that we've got that out of the way, the first thing we need to start a fire is we need a good area to do so, and we need a good place to light our fire. Now, if you've got an old disposable barbecue tray, they're perfect. Or maybe you've got a big metal tin like this. They also work well. But if you haven't got anything like that, you can still make one in your garden if you've got a patch of grass or a patch of earth. What you're going to want to do is you're going to dig what's called a small fire pit. Now, it doesn't want to be much deeper than 3 inches, and it doesn't want to be any wider than 30 centimetres around. So let's have a go at digging one of them. So, now we've got our fire pit. The next thing we need to do is we need to surround the perimeter of the fire pit with small to medium-sized rocks. These rocks, together with the earth that we've dug into, will not only prevent our fire from spreading out of control to the nearby areas, but it will also help to reflect some of the heat our fire creates back onto itself, thereby increasing the efficiency of the fire. So, now it's time to actually look at how we get our fire going. To start a fire, we need to think of what's called the Combustion Triangle. This is the 3 things we need to start a fire. First thing we need is heat. Now, you can get heat very easily from a fire lighter. You can also get it from a match. The thing we need after that is fuel. Fuel includes things like wood, which we'll look at in a second. And then finally, the final third element we need is oxygen. So when it comes to fuel, fuel can be thought of again in 3 categories. The first category is tinder. This is something that we light initially to get our fire going. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to use a fire lighter, which you may have at home, or you can get very easily from your local shop. Other good types of tinder include bits of crunched up newspaper, very small bits of wood, dry leaves, or even maybe some cotton wool. To make any of these burn even better, there's a special trick. You can get some Vaseline and rub it onto the newspaper or the cotton wool, and it will have an easy time of lighting. So the second type of fuel is what's called kindling. This is smaller bits of wood, no bigger than your pinky finger, that you use to put around the tinder once it's got going to build the flame up. And then finally, the third piece of fuel is what we call burners. These are larger bits of wood which you put on the fire once it's really got going, that sustain it for a long period of time. Now, you may not have a lot of wood lying about in your garden, so as a side quest, what you can do is you can go on a foraging mission on one of your local walks and try and collect a lot of wood like this that you find lying around on the ground. Now remember, it needs to be dry, and ideally it needs to be dead wood. That's wood you find on the ground. And then what we're looking for is wood that's a variety of thickness, ranging from, like with our kindling, your pinky finger, to, again, something about the size of your wrist. And that's the range we want. So, now that we've got those 3 things, we can have a go at getting our fire going. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my tinder, and I'm going to try and light it with my lighter. Now it's going, I'm going to place my kindling around it. Now remember, one of the things, the 3 things when we think of our combustion triangle that a fire needs is oxygen. So it's really important when I'm putting my kindling on, I'm not smothering the flame, and I'm making sure that there's enough gaps in between the kindling for oxygen to get to the flame. One way I try and do this is I imagine I'm building a Jenga tower, and each kindling represents a Jenga block, and I'm putting them on 3 by 3. It's really important you avoid the temptation to put too much on too early. You need to start small and give the fire a chance to get going. Now the fire's starting to get going, so I can put a bit more kindling on it. And I can now start to think about putting some slightly larger bits of wood on the fire. So now you can see our fire is really starting to get going. It's time now that I can start to put some of our bigger logs on. So as you can see now, our fire has really started to get going, and it won't be long now before all the wood currently that you see has burnt down to embers and formed what we call an ember bed at the bottom of the fire pit. Now this is a really hot layer of charcoal wood, which, while not alight and not giving off a flame, will still give off plenty of heat, so that I could put my tray over the stones and start to cook my dinner, or even put a kettle on and boil my water. So it becomes really versatile. That's all we got time for today. Really hope you've enjoyed learning how to build your own fire. By all means, if you want to have a go with your parents, try it at home. Send us your photos and videos, and if you do a really good fire, maybe you'll get a reward. Until next time, see you later.